Now consider the word science. How many? This is science. You must check how many letters do you have there. So how many different arranges can be made using all the letters? So how many letters do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 letters, meaning we're going to use what? The factorial way of writing our arrangements. So we have 7. So this is the way that we are given, the signs. So science has it have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 letters, and these 2 letters, they repeated them, and they also repeated the E. That's very, very important that you guys understand what I'm going to explain here with these repeated letters. Okay, now C and C are repeated, and E, they are also repeated. So we're going to, if there are letters that are repeated, you divide by their factorials. Since we have 2 letters, it's going to be, C is repeated, it's going to be whatever favorable outcome divided by 2 factorial, meaning that C is repeated 2 times the other 2 factorial, showing us that E is also repeated 2 times. If we had 3 letters that were repeated, we're going to actually multiply again by the factorial. But let me just do this so that you understand what I'm saying here. So this is our word science. It has 7 letters. Therefore it will be 7 factorial over these 2. They are repeated 2 times. Therefore we're going to write 2 factorial multiply by, we do have another letter that is repeated 2 times here, which is what? E. Therefore it's going to be 2 factorial. Then you punch it in your calculator, then that becomes your answer. You don't do this if there is no alphabet that is repeated. So this is your answer. It's going to be 1260 arrangements, 1260 arrangements. I hope you understood what I said there. Make sure that whenever there are alphabets that are repeated 2 times, you do what? We divide by their factorial. For example, let's say we have book. How many letters do we have here? We have 4 letters. Therefore, it's going to be 4 factorial over how many letters are repeated here? 2 letters, which is O. Therefore, it's going to be 2 factorial. Then you punch this in your calculator, then it becomes your answer. I hope it makes sense. So that's very important. In probability, some other things, or in counting principles, some other things, you just have to understand the question. We learn through questions. I hope it makes sense. Now let's try question 2. Determine the probability that both C's are next to each other. Both C's are next to each other. So we have 7 spaces or spots. So C, these 2 C's can be like this, or they can be here, or they can be here. As you can see that they are all next to each other. I hope that makes sense. So that's very, very important, meaning there will be a time whereby we're going to make these 2 C's alphabet to be in one spot. But if you can put another C right here, so this one and this one they are not next to each other, meaning it will be incorrect if we do it like that. But they must be actually in a sequence. They must one after the other. They must be like that. Therefore, so how are we going to determine its probability? Let us actually get to it. All right. So we have different spaces. As you can see, we have 7 letters from the word science. Then we must actually make sure that the C's are next to each other. All right. So what we must know, since they are next to each other, we must actually make them to be in one spot. meaning the number of the spots is going to decrease. Therefore, we have SIENE. This is what we are left with. Then we treat this one as what? One spot. Then when we count all of them, we are no longer having 5, we are no longer having 7, but now we have how many? We have 6 spots, because we took C and C to be in one block. I hope that makes sense. Therefore, what we now have is 6 factorial over the 2 e's. Why? Because they are repeated 2 times. Therefore, it's going to be 720 over 2, then that's going to be 360. So 6 factorial divided by 2 factorial, because there are 2 alphabets that are repeated there. E is repeated 2 times. That's what I wanted to say. So therefore, it's going to be 360 divided by 1260. Then the probability becomes what? 2 over 7. I hope this thing is making a lot of sense. I hope it makes sense. So I'm going to write another one here, then you try to do it on your own and see if you're going to get it. So make sure whenever you are given letters that are actually repeated, you divide the total of the spots that you're going to have by the factorials of those numbers, alphabets that are repeated. So consider the beautiful name Elton. It's a beautiful name. So how many letter arrangements, or how many arrangements can be made using all 3 letters from this beautiful name? So this is for 2 marks.